Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays. Network. Hard sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays.
Okay, so what's going on, everyone? This is Nate Great coming to you live from All Sports All Plays Network. This is Sports Corner, brought to you by me, Ray and Greg. So how are the both of you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to get the show started and get it going here on this hockey topic that we got going on.
Yeah, doing well, Nate. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really well. But before we get off to the topics, we have a lot of hockey stuff to talk about. I posted some on the All Sports All Plays ASAP Facebook page earlier today. Before we talk about hockey, let's hit the ads. First up is the Suzanne Paparazzi Jewelry.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
All right, now Misty Meadows. I just want to remind everybody that if you want to win a free t-shirt, all you have to do is like the show, comment the show, be engaged in the show. And at the end of the month, we tally all the comments made through every single show this month. And the person that gets the most comments wins a free t-shirt for free. And let's say for a second you're listening through it. You're listening through it, you watching it later, whatever the case is, and you still want a t-shirt, $14.99 plus shipping and handling. And the sizes go from small to 2XL. So let's get right into it. We'll go with Greg's team first. Now the first trade I wanted to talk about, the New York Islanders. They made a trade with the Ottawa Senators. They got Senators got a 2022 7th round draft pick in exchange for Braden Coburn for the Islanders defenseman. Now, since Greg, since you're the one that's an Islanders fan, why don't you go first? Why don't you go first and talk about do you like that trade? Do you like that move? Oh, and give it grade as well.
Okay, which one? You're not talking about the Kyle Palmieri trade yet?
No, the Braden Coburn.
Oh, okay. Hold on just a second, Nate. I really, when we were on the hockey show for the last few weeks, that just got moved to Sundays for everybody that tunes into the hockey show. I haven't been as high on the Islanders as of late because we've been missing out on scoring and stuff with Anders Lee blowing out his ACL about 3 weeks ago. So I know that you've been pretty high on them, Nate. You've been talking them up a lot, and you think that they're going to go pretty far. And my time traveling abilities told me that maybe they weren't going to because of all the setbacks with Anders Lee, how he was lighting it on fire for him and everything. But I do like the trade overall. All the trades that the Islanders have been pulling off. I mentioned it before a few weeks ago on our hockey show that my Islanders really needed to make a move. I was really hoping that they would go after Hall from the Sabres, but they weren't able to get him. He went to the Bruins. But, yeah, we've needed a little bit more depth, especially with scoring. Our defense has been very solid all year. But, yeah, I like the move that the Islanders have been making, and I like this trade. I probably give it at least a very solid B overall for the Islanders on that.
Ray, what do you like about? Do you like this trade, or what grade would you give it?
I think this trade could be a big for them. I mean, it's time. Like you said, when you do a trade, time is what you got to look for, and if he's gonna make a immediate impact once he gets on the team and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'll give it a trade about a 4 myself. I think it's a pretty good trade. It could have enhanced the team up a little bit more to the level that they need to be and try to get into this playoff run. So
I had it real quick. For me, they like I said, they got a defenseman here. Even though I did have them going over to the finals, they got a defenseman out of this trade, and I do agree with you. I think that they need a little bit more scoring. I like what they did all today. I'm gonna give this trade a B as well. Now looking at the next one. So the next trade for the Islanders, you said you had there was one other trade today for the Islanders.
It is nice to see you. What the hell you doing there? When I moved,
well, the big trade that the Islanders made was they ended up getting Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac from the New Jersey Devils for AJ Greer, Mason Jopes, and a 2021 first-round pick and a 2022 fourth-round pick. So they picked up a little bit more scoring, to replace Anders Lee. And, I mean, we got a phenomenal scorer in Palmieri. I would give this an A-level trade for the Islanders. I think that the Devils also did pretty well. The Devils are going to get some more depth. The Islanders didn't have to give up too much. Really, they didn't have to give up a lot of roster pieces, any roster pieces for that matter, to get Palmieri. Kind of stinks that we're giving up a first rounder this season for it. But you can't you can't overvalue a guy like Palmieri. I mean, he's going to come in, he's going to add instant scoring. He's always been historically a phenomenal scorer. So that's something that this team has been missing. The defense has been there, and we made trades also to strengthen up the defense. But, yeah, getting Palmieri and then also picking up Zajac, who's going to be kind of a bottom of the roster kind of depth, he's going to help out a lot too. So I would give the Islanders an A, probably the Devils probably like a B+ or so, because they're going to add some depth, and they're picking up some key draft picks along the way too. So I think it's a good move on both parties.
Okay. So there was a third one for the Islanders. Was there a third one for the Islanders, or was that it?
What's crazy is my wife rushing out
I think they just did the two.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Ray, we'll go with you on the last trade here. What would you give for that one?
I'll give it an A also. I think they picked up a good scoring bunch right there on that trade. So they, I mean, like this, like he said, the Islanders, they all need scoring. So I think they made a good move here, and I think they picked up three good players in these trades. So I think that it's a very good opportunity for them to try to move up into the playoff picture.
Um, yeah, I like this move. I would probably give this one. If I had to do the numbers grade, I would give it probably like a 96, maybe a 97. For the Islanders. They again with Anders Lee here now. This does leave me with a question. With Anders Lee, do you think that he's going to stick with the team, or do you think he's going to go off somewhere else? I know they made the moves that they made. I get that, but because they're in like a win now situation, and he's hurt, so being hurt doesn't help you win now.
It's definitely a win now situation. I do think that they really love Anders Lee over there with the Islanders organization. I know that Trader Lou really loves Anders Lee and what he brings to the team. It was very unfortunate because he was leading the team in goals before he got hurt and has to miss the rest of the season trying to rehab and having surgery. But I think that they're probably going to try to keep him once he gets rehabilitated. I know it's win now. I know that they picked up Palmieri and everything, but I think that if you keep Palmieri for another couple of years and then get Anders Lee back, I mean, that's only going to make your team that more potent and explosive. And of course, Barzal, he's always contributing all around. He plays great defense. He gets penalty minutes. He's a great defender. He can score a little bit too. So I think they'll probably keep him around, especially since they gave up a couple draft picks to get Palmieri. I think they're going to keep Anders Lee because they gave up a first to get Palmieri. So I think they're going to try to keep Anders Lee if it's functional for them.
Okay. Now you said we were having trouble trying to find one, but we haven't. Ray. We actually did find a Carolina Hurricanes trade that happened earlier today. They didn't do very much, but I want to you give a little bit to explain, what they did today and how you like that move that they did.
Well, what the Carolina Hurricanes did was they traded Hydrant Fleury for a defenseman for another defenseman, Gene Huckabee, and a 2022 6th-round pick for the Anaheim Ducks. So, I mean, they just traded defensemen over to the thing, but I mean, the one we got, he's a young player. He's 29. He's the one with 1 year's experience. The other guy we traded had 2 years experience. So, I mean, I think it's just a 1-for-1 move. Get a player that is probably not going to stick around too long of a thing. Just getting somebody for that. I think they're just using that pick to get the draft choice that they got with it in the 22 draft pick, the 6th-round draft pick. So they just added more draft capital to their disposal. I don't think. I mean, it's not an upgrade. To me, I think it's just a downgrade there. I give this trade a D because, I mean, you're just trading defensemen. And this guy here, the guy we traded, he had 5 career. He had 19 assists and 24 points and is in 2 years experience. And the guy we picked up, his career, he only has 1 goal, 1 assist, and 2 points, in a year. So he's 6'5", 218 pound, the guy we picked up. And the guy we traded was 6'3", 208 pounds. So, I mean, to me, I think this trade was just, I think point of this trade was just getting that draft choice in that 6th round in 2022, adding more draft capital to the Hurricanes. I don't think this guy's going to help them towards, finishing up where they need to be in the playoffs. Pitcher, I think just added depth to the chart and then just added picks to the draft.
Hey, at least you didn't do what Buffalo did the past couple of days with their stuff that they they did. So, I mean, hey, at least that's something. So, Greg, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with them? Do you have something else to add?
Yeah, I agree with Ray. I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes, they're, I mean, in my opinion, one of the top 2-3 teams in the NHL. So they really didn't have to go out and make a bunch of headlines and really make any major moves. My Islanders, I think that they're a top 10 team, but they definitely had to make some moves if they want to make a run. And they went out and did that to go get some offensive help and some great scoring. With the Hurricanes, they, I think that they're probably, I think that they're probably on their road to heading to the Stanley Cup with the roster that they got, and they all seem to be pretty healthy. So they didn't really have to go out and do too much. But like Ray said, they're going to pick up a draft pick the following season and everything. So that might help them out in a year or two, getting that draft pick when it comes around. But I think that the Carolina Hurricanes are definitely a team that really didn't have to do too much. So I don't know what kind of grade I would give this. I'd probably give it a middle level grade, probably like a C minus, somewhere around there. It just, it wasn't any splashy headline move or anything. It was just a basic swap and a draft pick. So, so you're in good shape, Ray. I think your team's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now going with my team, this move actually happened a few days ago. But the Colorado Avalanche traded Greg Patron for Devin Dubnyk, goalie from the San Jose Sharks. I like this move. I thought it was okay. To be honest, the Colorado has been just phenomenal. They've been firing all cylinders. They in the past 17 games they've lost one time. But I want to talk about that one game. That one game we lost. I'm gonna have to double check that final score, but I think they scored 9 on us. 9 goals. And 9 goals. No, it was 8. It was 8. Minnesota Wild, they beat us 8-3. Even though we do have great shooting, we do have great defensive men. We do have okay goalies, but we don't. That is our weakness. It might not be. It might not be like the worst in the league type of weakness, but it is where we struggle the most. So adding in a goalie, I like that move. I also think that what San Jose Sharks did, picking up Devin Dubnyk, that also was good for San Jose, because repeating the exact same words that Doug Wilson, who's the general manager for the San Jose Sharks, said, Devin Dubnyk brings an element of professionalism in class to a lot of the younger players, because San Jose is pretty much a young team. So if I had to grade off that move, I would have to grade Colorado a B+, but I would also have to grade San Jose a B+. Now, Ray will give this to you next. What do you like? Do you like that move about Colorado and San Jose?
I think it's a win for each team. I mean, yeah, like you said, Colorado does need a goalie. So I think they probably upgraded their goalie with this trade, and then San Jose Sharks got that what they needed out of it. So I grade this a high B+ area. of the trade. I think both teams got what they needed. But I mean, if you look at some of the other stuff that Colorado did, and for the trade, if you want to talk about that too, after we
Yeah,
get
we'll
Greg's
to that.
opinion.
We'll get to
So,
that. Ray, what were your thoughts on the Colorado San Jose trade?
Well, I think that in years past, Devin Dubnyk was a very solid defender. He hasn't been playing his best hockey as of late for the last year or so, but he's still not bad. I think that the Sharks were able to get him fairly cheap about a year ago before the season, and they were hoping that he'd be able to kind of compete and give really good competition to Jones over there in San Jose. But I think that the fact that they were able to get him cheap and then deal him to Colorado was a pretty good move on their part. But I also think that it's a pretty good change of scenery for Dubnyk. And I do think that he's going to bounce back. I know that his level of play hasn't been exactly where, a lot of people have expected it or where it's been in the past, for the Oilers and other franchises that he's played for. But, I think that it's a pretty solid move because it just gives the Avalanche a little bit more depth. It gives them, an above average defender that can come in as a backup and fill that role. So I would say I would probably give it like a B- maybe level for the Avalanche to pick them up. But I think that it was probably a pretty good move as well for the Sharks because, like I said, they got them for fairly cheap early on, before the season started, and then they were able to actually get something for them in return, late in the season. So I think it's going to pay off for both teams. I think that having Dubnyk in there to help out with the goalkeeping duties and everything for the Avalanche is going to help them out. The Avalanche don't have too many weaknesses in their lineup. In fact, I don't know if they have too many. I think they're playing probably the best hockey of anybody right now, and I've been talking about them for weeks, haven't I, Nate?
Yeah.
They weren't
yes,
that
you have.
yeah, and
yeah.
I don't know. I really think that McKinnon and company are going to be hoisting the trophy when it's all said and done, just because of how excellent their defense is. But I've always liked Devin Dubnyk, and I hope that he can turn it around and have some great games in the crease for him. So I think for this trade, I would give it a B- just because Dubnyk's level of play hasn't been exactly on par to where it has been, his entire career.
So let's move on to the second move that Colorado did. We traded Josh Dickinson and Ryan Rolston to the Chicago Blackhawks, but we get forward Carl Soderberg after that. I thought this was more of I thought this move was okay. It wasn't like a major move by any means, but I thought this move was okay. I think it was not more it basically more I thought it was a move that really helped the depth for Colorado. And I feel like what Chicago needs to be in if they aren't now, they just need to be in a rebuild mode for the Chicago Blackhawks. So they just haven't been able to do anything. But we'll go with Ray. What are your thoughts on that?
okay. What I thought about this trade was Soderberg spent 2015, 2016 with this club, and then 2018, 2019. But he also, I think he fits the scheme of Colorado with their perfectly into the Avalanche hyperspeed offense. With Chicago for 34, he scored 15 points in 34 games for Chicago in 2021. Fits perfectly into the Avalanche hyperspeed offense, with the team leading almost every shot creation and possession metrics this season. But the 35-year-old has a poor possession and shot creation number this season, but will almost certainly benefits from the superior line mates in Colorado. So to me, I think they picked up a person that fits that hyperspeed offense a little bit better than what they were doing. I think it gives them a little bit more of a creator out there in their speed attack. So I think to me, this is above average move. But to get possessions to get what they need out of the hyper style offense could give them Colorado advantage to get into the playoffs and win that Stanley Cup. I mean, they upgraded some of their areas, and they needed some of the areas to be upgraded for their Stanley Cup run. So I think they picked up somebody that can feed off that hyper. If you want to speed up a team, he's a good person for it.
Let's talk about some of the other major moves. The first one actually that I posted on the ASAP Facebook page today was actually happened. This happened yesterday. Tyler Hall, he's going to Boston from the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo's just completely blew up their team in the past couple of days. Yeah, their ship. This is water. This is where their ship is at.
Mm-hmm.
This is the moves that they made. They just sunk themselves farther down the water when their ship was already in water. But anyway, jokes aside, Tyler Hall, Boston easily won this trade. Boston, that's not even. Buffalo, I get that they're trying to get draft picks. They're trying to rebuild their team. I get that trading away Tyler, although it does hurt their team now, it will help their team out in the long run. I get that. But, man, Boston easily won this trade. And, I like the moves that Boston's been doing because Boston is literally hanging on that thread. They're sitting at fourth seed right now. It's actually looking like Philadelphia Flyers might take that fourth spot. It's been a battle between the Flyers and the Bruins. But I like the moves that they make, and I hopefully that these moves for the Boston Bruins does help them get on top. Well, I say hopefully, but hopefully for them, not for me. I don't want anybody to think I'm a bandwagon fan. Cough, cough, Freddy. But so. Ray, what do you think on that Tyler Hall move?
Well, Tyler Hall is 29 years old. He tallied 2 goals and 17 assists and 19 points in 37 games with Buffalo this season. He's 6'1", 206 pounds. He played in 664 career NHL game with Buffalo, Arizona, New Jersey, and Edmonton, totaling 220 goals, 362 assists for 582 points. So, I mean, he was the overall first round overall pick for Edmonton in the first round in 2010. So, I mean, Boston's picking up a veteran guy who's been pretty good in his career, and the Sabres are looking, like you said, they're looking to rebuild. They're trying to get these draft picks and stuff like that. And I think that's part of what it took them to get there where they needed to get that draft pick from Boston. Is to get rid of Tyler Hall and Curtis Lazar. I mean, Lazar is 26, record 5 goals and 4 assists and 9 points in 33 games this season. He's 6 foot, 193 pounds, soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
He played in 317 career NHL games with Buffalo, Calgary, and Ottawa, and totaling 25 goals and 45 assists for 70 points. He's a British Columbia native, originally selected by Ottawa in the first round, 17th overall pick in 2013. So, I mean, to me, I think they picked up some good scoring caliber to help out their offense areas. and their needs and stuff. But like I think Sabre had to get rid of these two players to get that draft pick they needed to rebuild, and I think Boston's continuing to move on up when they need to hang on to that, try to move in that and hang on to that fourth spot in that playoffs berth. So Boston's trying to do whatever they need to get in that playoffs, and these two guys could help them.
Craig, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you, this is probably the hugest gap I have between, one team and the other when it comes to comparing how they did. I give the Bruins an A+ on this for picking up Hall, especially for so cheap. I give the Sabres not quite a D, an F, but I'll give them a D. I don't think that they completely failed because they are picking up Anders Bork and a draft pick, a decent draft pick coming up. But I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. They're pretty much thrown in the towel. They're going to be done for a few seasons. They're on a complete rebuild. They're kind of like my Oklahoma City Thunder. What they're doing in the NBA, they're dismantling the team, going after draft picks, doing a complete rebuild, trying to get younger players, and they're willing to suffer for a little bit, maybe a long time until they can build up something good again. But picking up Hall, I really wanted Hall in an Islanders jersey. I really did. I was just foaming at the mouth, wanting to get him. I was just like, man, I really hope that we can pick them up because it looked like the Sabres were pretty much going to sell everybody, and that's what they're doing. But I'm pretty pleased that we picked up Palmieri, though, because he is playing a little bit better hockey this season, at least, than Hall. But the thing about this trade is it makes sense, and it takes a lot of pressure off of Hall because wherever Hall's been, he's always had to be the centerpiece of the team. And coming into the Bruins, they've got a lot of talent at that forward position, and he's not going to have so much pressure to always try to make plays and be the superstar. And so he'll fit in nicely, and he'll have less responsibility on his shoulders, and it'll be a huge weight lifted off of him to play in such a more talented lineup than what he's with in Buffalo. Even with Hall, I don't think that the Buffalo Sabres could have even won the Frozen Four this year. That's how bad they are as a professional hockey team this year. So I really like what the Bruins did. The Bruins early on, they look like a team that was going places, and they've kind of slid off the radar for many weeks now. So picking up Hall may get them into that final playoff spot, and they're doing what they need to do to try to make a playoff run. And I think that they'll probably get there with about 17, 18 games left. Picking up Hall. So I think it was a good move. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term move, but I like it. That's probably my A+ move of this entire draft. A trade. Trade deadline.
Yeah, trade. So there's actually a 3-team trade earlier today. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they get Nick Foligno. They get Stefan Noesen. Columbus gets 2021 first round draft pick, a 2022 fourth round draft pick, and San Jose Sharks a 2021 fourth round draft pick. So I say this was a 3-team trade, but it's really not. It was 2 trades, both made by the Toronto Maple Leafs, because Columbus didn't really send anything over to San Jose, but same goes with San Jose. They didn't send anything over to Columbus. That being said, I like this move. If I had to pick a team that I thought would win this move, would be Columbus, the part A, and then the part, I think, part B is, I think that with the Columbus sending in their draft picks, getting draft picks for the guys they sent in, I think they won that trade. but with Toronto sending in their guys to the Sharks, I think Toronto won that trade with the Sharks, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's go back because that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Columbus got 2021 first round draft pick and a 2022 fourth round draft pick. Nick Foligno is on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they also have Stefan Noesen. San Jose Sharks get the fourth round draft pick. So for this year's draft. So who won that trade and why? We'll go with Ray.
Well, that's a lot to digest there. To me, I when you looking at this trade and you're looking at the draft picks and stuff like that, I mean, team is going to win. I mean, these teams going to win because they got the draft picks they want and stuff like that. But to me, I don't think making trades like this at the mid-season, trying to get draft picks at the end. They could work something at the end of the season, try to keep these players and stuff and try to go. But if teams are like out of the playoff reaches and stuff like that, and they can't improve their playoffs, then this could be a good trade for all these teams. So to me, I think Columbus did win a little bit, but it's not like a high power, trade. It's not like a landslide trade that you can really judge about.
Yeah. Ray, Greg, we'll go with you.
Well, it's kind of interesting when you see three-way trades going on in any league because you don't really know, what direction the team is really wanting to go in to, especially in a year where we got an expansion draft coming on. So, some of these players that are getting moved, some of these bigger names, who knows if the teams were going to release these guys or maybe put them out to be eligible, for the Kraken to take them in the draft. What teams are going to, who's going to get protected from each team, so they can't go to the Kraken because they're going to have the big expansion draft, which is always exciting. But every time I come on the hockey show and my time traveling abilities, was telling me that the Maple Leafs are the real deal and everything, and then they kind of cool off, and I'm thinking that they're not. Here they come again, picking up a big piece that might help them once they reach the playoffs and try to make that run to the Stanley Cup. So I really like what the Maple Leafs did, but I also like what the Blue Jackets did too, because they're picking up some young pieces. So they're moving on. It's the end of an era for Foligno. But he's definitely going to help the Maple Leafs, especially in the short term. But it kind of reminds me a lot of what's going on in basketball right now, where all these players are getting released or picked up late in the season, so these teams can kind of put together like a super team. So you're seeing some major superstars or former superstars kind of heading out to try to give these teams one big push before it's all said and done, because we got a short NHL season. I mean, we got less than 20 games left, only 56 games this year. And I think that people like Foligno, Hall, Palmiero are going to pay off big dividends. So I like this trade all around. You got some draft picks coming up, some first and second round picks. You're getting rid of a franchise player in Foligno, sending him over to the Maple Leafs. So it sounds like everybody's pretty happy with it. I'd probably give it like a B level. I don't think it was as great of a trade as the Hall trade or anything as splashy, but I'd give it a pretty solid B.
For me, I would give for each team, or I'm going to grade each team real quick on this. Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll give them an A-, because they're trying to they made these moves Their goal is to win towards the end. Now Columbus and San Jose, I'm gonna give them Columbus. I'm gonna give them an A plus because looking at their standings, both the San Jose Sharks and the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're second to last. But Columbus got 2 draft picks out of this, and San Jose only got 1. So I'll give San Jose an A minus, but Columbus an A. So let's go on to the next one. Jeff Carter, he was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins from the Los Angeles Kings in exchange for a 2022 conditional third-round draft pick, a 2023 conditional fourth-round draft pick. We'll go with Greg. Greg, what are your thoughts on this Jeff Carter trade, which is another trade that I put on the ASAP Facebook page?
Well, I think that it's I don't know. The Bruins, they just picked up Hall, and he's going to fit in nicely with those forwards that they got going on. So I don't know exactly where. I mean, if they really want to trade away Carter, then that's probably an okay move, just because they're filling in with Hall and they're adding more depth, at least with the forward position. But it sounds like the draft picks are kind of key, and it sounds like the Penguins, are another team that's trying to make some moves. They've been playing some decent hockey and everything. I think that this race is going to be, on our hockey show coming up on Sunday nights, it's going to be hot looking at all these playoff spots that are up for grabs. I still think that, there's still a couple spots out there that are pretty undecided right now that can go either way in a few divisions. So, I kind of like the move. You hate to see veteran players or decent players kind of get swapped around for draft picks and everything, because you just don't know how these draft picks are going to turn out. We've seen a few busts over the years in every single sport when it comes to the draft. But I'd probably give this like a B minus kind of grade. It's nothing too splashy.
Yeah, I can see that. Ray?
Okay, this trade is kind of interesting because while I'm digging through some of this trade right here, with this trade with Jeff Carter going to the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Los Angeles Kings will retain 50% of Carter's salary, which will hit on the 2021-22 season. Here's a $5.272 million cap hit. So that's what the cap hit is going to hit the Kings on the 50% of his salary stays with the Kings. So, Pittsburgh could have made out better with this trade here because they're not getting 100% of his salary. They're only getting 50% of his salary, while the other 50% is mainly with the Kings. So, he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion with the Kings in 2012 and 2014. Carter is tied for 10th on the franchise list of all-time scorers, ranked first in overtime goals. He spent 9+ years of his 16 NHL in Los Angeles. He also played for the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Philadelphia Flyers, who drafted him in 11th overall in 2023. So, you're looking at him. He's 36 years old. His record: 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points in 40 games this season. His departure leaves just four members of the Kings, 2 Stanley Cup team still with the franchise. So Pittsburgh probably picked up because he's a veteran leader. He's won Stanley Cup. So, if they get a good playoff run, he could help them carry them that way. Try to lead them into another Stanley Cup.
For me, Pittsburgh easily won this trade. Let me give a little bit of an analogy. To be honest, this trade, I'm going to compare this to a baseball trade that happened. It happened a few months ago. A few months ago. Nolan Arenado. Because Nolan Arenado, the Cardinals got him for free, basically. Colorado traded Nolan Arenado to the Cardinals, but also traded cash considerations. That his whole contract, basically. It's whole lot like this trade, except let's say they only took half of it. They will pay for half of the contract. Still, it's the same way. It's the same. It's not as bad as the Nolan Arenado trade. It's not as bad as the Elvis Andrus trade, but it's still crazy like that. So Penguins easily won this trade for me. Penguins A+. Kings F-, but they're the Kings. They're the only LA team that's just the Chargers too, but that's for they're the only them the Chargers are the only LA trash teams out there.
I don't think the Kings really understood what they had with this guy as far as his leadership and everything. He wasn't exactly lighting it on fire this season. He is 36 years of age. The Kings haven't been exactly playing great hockey. I think he only has about 8 goals this season, but he was a tremendous leader. He won a Stanley Cup. He's got proven playoff experience. And, a lot can be said, especially with young teams, when you got a guy that's been around and knows his way around, management and the team and can really lead by example. When you got a guy like that, you should try to keep him around. But they obviously wanted to move off of him, and Pittsburgh picked up. I'm not saying that he's going to light it on fire for Pittsburgh, but he's going to give them some good leadership. He's going to go all out. They're going to get tremendous effort, and he's got a lot of playoff experience. So I think that Pittsburgh did win this thing.
I like this move. I like this move for one reason. The Kings are in my division. There, that's it. I'm being a big Avs fan. Kings are in my division. That's the only reason I like this move. But let's get back. You don't
have to worry about the Kings from the Avalanche.
True. True.
Yeah, they're 16 and 18.
Yeah, true. But let's go on to the next topic. Who do you think was the winner of today, and who do you think was the loser of trade deadline? Whose phone is ringing?
Not mine.
Oh, hold on. That was my watch.
Oh, okay. So we'll go with Ray first. Who do you think won this trade deadline? Who do you think lost it?
To me, I think the winner of this. I think Boston really got what they wanted out of what they needed, and I think the loser. I don't know. To me, I think if you want to look at it, the loser is the cap flexibility, because teams are really maximize that cap flexibility really good in these trades. Some teams were like pushing the salary cap and they got rid of their salary cap needs, and now they're getting a little bit more flexible room into it. So to me, I think right now, I think Boston won the trade. They got what they wanted and they got what they needed, and it was just a perfect scenario for them.
Greg?
Oh man, I gotta go with my Islanders and the Bruins for the big winners of this trade deadline. I mean, the Islanders picked up a really awesome scorer in Palmieri. They picked up a good bottom of the line guy in Zajac. So that was a really good trade. And of course, Boston Bruins picking up Hall from the Sabres for, really, really not too much. And I think that the Sabres were probably the biggest losers because they lost pretty much any efficient player that they had left to account for on their team. So they pretty much got rid of basically any decent player that they have right now, and they're pretty much throwing in the towel and investing in youth in the drafts to come. So I would probably say that the Islanders and the Bruins, it's going to be interesting to watch them play against each other, and also interesting to see how that race heats up in the last 15 to 18 games or so of this season. So I think that Boston's probably going to squeak into the playoffs now by adding Hall. And a lot of these teams did really well. I would say that most of these trades weren't really that lopsided. I mean, even with the Islanders and the Devils trade, I mean, I think it was like an A and a B plus. It was a win-win for both teams. So most teams didn't really come out looking pretty foolish when it was all said and done. But I feel bad for the Sabres because they're pretty much, years away now. They're going to be scraping by for the next few years, until those draft picks really come through for them. But, I really like what the Islanders and the Bruins did this trade deadline.
The very first What the Puck episode, you said yourself that the Detroit Red Wings have a very deep bullpen farm system.
Yeah.
Well, the Buffalo Sabres have down to the very bottom deep farm system. So Buffalo lost this trade today. Lost today, but so did the LA Kings. But it's the LA Kings. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime another franchise has to play for a star player or a decent player to leave their team and have to pay for it, that's a bad move.
Yep.
Yeah. So this has been Nate the Great. Ray and Greg signing out for now.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.